invisible people.
Yeah, I wonder. I think there was supposed to be an interpreter here too, so maybe they had too fun at the whiskey tent last
They
night.
might have had too much whiskey.
They did not survive
Yeah.
the whiskey.
Yeah, don't blame them. Well, Sunday, final day of the festival. Maria, your first time. Duncan, your second. Impressions. What were some of the favorite things for you folks over the course of the festival?
These incredible panels.
Oh, thanks.
And your genius questions.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's been fascinating. Usually when we go to conventions and just try and be funny, never actually talk quite in depth about anything, so it's been refreshing, to say the least. And yeah, seeing the strong guys hurl gigantic sacks of things over 35-foot cables, it was, intimidating. Now I know where I am in the masculine hierarchy, so...
Yeah, I thought that we were at the opening ceremonies yesterday, it was so weird to be sitting at the front with all the, I would say all the knobs, but like all the top dogs, like all the mayors and those kind of people were there, and we were sitting there, and we really felt like, what are we doing up here? But it was an incredible place to see the ceremony. We got to see the mass pipe bands all together, and the sound of that approaching you, it was really beautiful. And also the mass Highland fling, we really liked, especially with the little kids in front of us who were just doing their own thing. It was lovely. And generally, just the feeling at the festival is very warm and very friendly and very kind of family oriented. It's been a lovely weekend.
Well, we've got a great panel in store. We've got some questions about these folks' careers and Outlander and some rapid fire at the end. So we'll jump right into it. I know it's Sunday morning and it's early, but I'll start with you, Maria. We've talked a lot over the weekend about some of your roles in your career, preparing for Outlander, the physicality of it. But I wanted to ask you particularly, out of all of these great roles that you've played over your career, what would you deem the most challenging role if you've had one that's the most challenging?
I did one job where I spoke completely as Gaeilge, and that was quite. So Gaeilge is my language, like Irish. It's my language, and I used to speak it, but hadn't for a long time, so I wasn't totally fluent. And it's one of those languages that a tiny mistake is a huge mistake. Like the difference between quave and crave is like they're two completely different words and meanings. So I had to work really hard at that. So that was good. But does anybody know Father Ted here?
Yeah.
I did one episode of Father Ted, and it's the only thing that my children have ever really been interested in that I did. Otherwise, they're just like, you're going to work, yeah, what's for tea when you get back? Like they've no interest at all. But they were so proud of me that I was going to be in Father Ted. And we filmed the outside bits in Ireland, outside Ennistyne, and then we went to London to film the studio bits. And even though, like, I knew I was going to a studio, I knew it was a set, I walked up half the stairs and then the stairs stopped and it didn't go on up into the rest of the house, and I was so disappointed. I loved being on that. It was probably, my favorite thing.
That's awesome. Now, talking about language, I know we talked about Gaelic too, preparing to do that. I'd imagine it's a challenge too, because you're worried as actors about so many different things. The eye lines, where the cameras are, where your fellow actors are, if you've got to move in a scene, all the little things, picking up things, I imagine. Now you add in a whole other layer of a language that,
Fear.
Yeah.
A whole other layer of fear.
Yeah. Is that difficult? I know a lot of times you have folks that help you, either dialect coaches and things like that. I think, Duncan, we told a story about the enunciation or the elongating of vowels or something the other day. That's I imagine, an extra challenge, an extra layer of something to do when you're on set.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky because I had spent a long time with the dialect coach and our Gaelic teacher before we started shooting. Caroline, she'd always be very keen because the accent we were trying to aim for at the beginning was a kind of Highland accent, which is actually not what I expected Scottish to sound like. And she had old recordings from kind of 1940s and 50s. And they tend to pronounce all the vowels, you know, it's kind of, because their first language is Gaelic, so when they speak English, it's kind of very, and it's very flat as well. So I was kind of aware that's, you know, it can get kind of non-dramatic when you're saying it, so I kind of, you know, you have to kind of finesse that, but she was very keen on coming up between every take, you know, trying to get me to extend vowels for these unnatural lengths of time. Well, you just say that and go, ooh. No, I'm just going to look like a moron. But the Gaelic was, Adam, who was our Gaelic teacher, actually tried to teach us Gaelic. That was his intent. It was just like, no, this is, you know, I'm in my mid-40s, I can barely like speak English anymore, like this is not happening. And we just kind of got away with it. I think I was saying I kind of flubbed my first ever Gaelic line. But then towards the end of season 1, there was a whole scene between myself and Jamie in the monastery where it was like 2 pages of Gaelic. And when it came to the day of shooting, they spent kind of all day shooting Katrina walking around corridors and stuff, you know, like, and we were thinking, yeah, they're going to drop the scene. There's no way we're going to have time to do this scene. Thank God. And we were just like, yes. And then they said, okay, look, we've still got an hour left of shooting. We're going to shoot it. And like, that's just like unheard of shooting shooting the scene in like an hour and a half. So we just, it was just me and Sam walking around the car park, like, oh my God, trying to learn this same time from letters to each other, like just absolutely in terror. And that kind of, I think that just energy just helped because they just set the camera at the foot of the bed, and if you look at it, it's just kind of like one shot. And we did it in like 2 takes, and the Gaelic teacher was there, and he was just like, cool. So fear works.
Fear works, yeah.
Always be terrified.
Yeah. With the language, I guess, is it fair to say, you know, not always, you know the gist of what you're saying and the emotion that you're portraying, but do you have to rely on a heightened sense of cues? I know we've talked about body language, eye lines, looking at each other when maybe you don't necessarily understand fully what every line means, or are you, like, how do they prepare that for you? Do they give you like a translation on the side so you know everything?
Oh yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We weren't just like reading Gaelic, what the hell are we saying? So we knew what we were saying, and funnily enough, the way that like language sound is so rich and kind of emotive, that so we learned it phonetically, and it just made it more powerful as well. You know, so I don't think we were consciously trying to do things physically, but we're always looking for that kind of indication from.
I had to, in the tutors, I had to speak some Spanish, and I didn't speak any Spanish at the time, so I got a translation. I knew what it meant, and I learned it phonetically. But because I'm a singer, I'm quite good at accents. So, like, it sounded good what I said, and it sounded really strong. And there was a Spanish person who worked in the office there, and she'd come out and just give me a big thumbs up if I was getting it right. But then, shortly after I finished working on it, I went to live in Spain for 6 months with my family. One of the youngest was a tiny baby at the time, and my husband. We went to live in a small white walled town up in the mountains where nobody spoke English. And my husband was like, "Sure, you'd be grand. You know, you've loads of English, loads of Spanish from the tutors." But I mean, the only things that you had to say was, you know, "Have you seen the cardinal and where are the spies?" You know, absolutely no use like vaccinating a baby or buying groceries.
Oh man.
That's funny. That's really funny. With your time on Outlander, and you share a lot of different scene partners, and you have long days, so some brevity, some humor is probably needed to get you through. Who's the funniest person on the Outlander set that you've worked with?
Well, geez, everybody would give it a go. John Bell would always be trying to stir up some trouble or make
love
people
John
laugh,
Bell.
definitely. Lauren was great crack. Katrine is brilliant fun. I have a really good, really good, when she was filming, I guess it was season 6, and she was pregnant, and so she had this huge, gigantic kind of Pilates ball that you'd be able to rest on and not disturb all of the, the corsets and the costume and everything. So one day for the crack, she said, come on, make a film of this. I filmed her kind of getting up incredibly gracefully off the thing, and then this gigantic Pilates ball falling out of my I call it Katrina giving birth to a ball. So everyone was up for a bit of fun, weren't they? Unless if you had to really lock into some scene that was going to be distressing and you needed to just be thinking about that and processing that, you might spend a little time more isolated, just go off on your own to kind of get your head there. But mostly we hung out together all the time and just distracted each other and had a lot of fun, Farting's always a great one for, breaking the tension, excuse the puns, all puns intended.
Yeah, everyone had a great sense of humour. In season 1, I was just constantly trying to make Graham McTavish corpse, but there's loads of little things, like in the huge gathering scene, there was about 200 extras, a huge hall, banquets. It was they actually had chefs come out and give us these weird, medieval food. So I grabbed the chicken wing and had it sticking out as my hand, chicken claw, and shake hands with people. And supposed to be a notorious one was during the wedding scene, and we were just there, we're just sitting in the pews, bored as hell, to say their vows, and you got Jamie's really long name, and he says his vows, my name is Jamie Malcolm, blah 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 blah. So we were just mimicking, just making up stuff in the background when it was about to, my name is JB, one punch knockout Bruce Lee, Transformer Megaton, Popeye Doyle, and farting, yeah, basically. Whenever anyone farts, Katrina just laughs about. We had a dinner scene in Fraser's Ridge, and one of the crew farted halfway through the scene, and I was like, so the pigs were very noisy outside tonight, and me and Katrina were just like.
Kind of similar to that, who's most likely to break character in the middle of a scene?
I don't think that ever happens. Well, you mean just corpse?
Yeah, just
giggles.
Somebody's maybe messing around in the background, or so your scene partner starts doing something weird, and you kind of.
I suppose Kat's an awful giggler when she starts. It's kind of hard to stop. But no, everyone's very professional. When it gets down to the work,
Fair enough.
Yes.
I'm going to bring it back a little bit. Something that we've talked about a little bit, Duncan, is your love of Shakespeare and doing Shakespearean productions. Having done them, what entices you about the work? I know thematically, I hear you talk about even Myrtle, like the tragedy of it, and some of the best tragedies are in Shakespeare as well. Is it themes, is it the language, is it the act of actually performing it? What really entices you about his work?
Well, I was rereading Peter Brook's The Empty Space. It's kind of like a theatrical Bible, and he expressed it best. It's kind of like he covered everything, weirdly. It's like this guy wasn't even human. His lifetime and his body of work seemed to philosophically cover every aspect of human emotion in prose and in poetry. So it's kind of like this high elevated musical score that you can keep pulling down and interpreting different ways, and there's always so many layers to it. It's kind of, I mean, you know, there's a reason why it's still performed, like, you know, 400 or 500 years after it was written, because it's just this huge, rich tapestry of material that you can keep drawing upon, keep like endlessly dipping that bucket in the well, I suppose.
Sure. Is there a favorite interpretation that you've either been a part of or seen that you were like, wow, this is special? Because I guess that's the tough part, right? Because the texts are old and they're timeless.
But the themes are not.
But the themes are
I
not.
mean, the fact that, you know, West Side Story
Yeah.
is Romeo and Juliet, you know, and it's exactly the same story. These young lovers who fall in love, but we are tribal as people, aren't we? And so one tribe or clan doesn't like the other one, has some old beef with them, tries to keep them apart, but love will not be stopped. It's such an incredible adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, isn't it? And there seems to be nothing old about that. That theme is absolutely universal and relevant.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of big Hollywood films, 10 Things I Hate About You, they're
Yeah.
all retellings of these classic stories.
Yeah.
Anything come to mind, Duncan?
Well, recently I saw there's a play called The Motive and the Cue. It played in the National, and it is in the West End, and it's about the late 1960s production of Hamlet, directed by John Gielgud and starring Richard Burton. And it was such an amazing way into Hamlet, watching it, and you know, it's the iconic part to play. You know, at the time when you had actors like Gielgud, Olivier, Burton, Richard Harris, you know, everyone had done their Hamlet.
Sure.
And Burton at that point was kind of a massive Hollywood star, married to Elizabeth Taylor. Gielgud was on the decline. He used to be the preeminent Shakespearean actor in the 30s. And they kind of clash of styles. And then I watched that, and then immediately, there's still a film. They filmed the Burton production on Broadway, and it's just so energetic. I think he was coming up to late 30s, 40s, and it's just, and his voice is just the most beautiful.
Wow.
That rich Welsh kind of
Yeah.
baritone, to be or not to be, that is the question. And it's just yes, it's but that's the kind of thing as an actor, okay, that's the point of doing this.
Yeah, cool. Maria, I wanted to pivot a little bit. You told a great story on Friday about John Prine. I love John Prine.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody in the audience familiar with John Prine's work? Yeah. On your album Sing, you had a duet with John Prine.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling me a little bit about that? It's a great song.
I wrote them. The song is called Yes We Will, and it's a song about sticking with it, I suppose, feeling that you're maybe in a little place of adversity and somehow finding the strength to overcome it or go forward. And my husband and I were writing for a new album, and we were struggling a little bit, and just things seemed to be not going as well as they had been. All of the kind of smaller theatres, a whole load of them had closed down that we used to play in, and we were like, oh God, are we any good? Have we risked our children's entire future on the fact that we like singing and playing, or what's going on? And anyway, we wrote this song, Yes We Will, and as we were writing it, it's never happened to me before or since, I heard John Prine's voice singing in my head. And I was completely sober at the time. And I just heard him, and I just said, oh my God, imagine singing this with John Prine. And anyway, I figured out a way to send him the song, and through a mutual friend, and he knew who we were. We had played at the Cambridge Folk Festival a few years previously, and he was also at that festival, and a huge session kicked off in the bar where all the musicians were staying, in the bar hotel. And he stood very kind of wisely at the counter for a while, just watching all the younger people kick off, going, Oh, and then he went, no, they're okay. And he came over and joined in. It was really lovely. But, so I sent him this song anyway, and then I always think I got a call, but I always think if you're going to get a call like this in a movie, you would be, on the hill of Tara, communing with your muse or whatever. I was in the supermarket with my children just saying, put those chocolate biscuits back. No. And then the phone rang, was like, hello? Hi Maria, it's John Prine. I was like, oh. So, anyway, he said, I love that song and I'd love to record it with you. And like John Prine writes such extraordinary songs himself, he doesn't ever sing other people's songs. He does duets sometimes, and he did a lot of work with Iris Dement, but they were songs that he wrote. So for him to say, I think that song's good, and I would like to sing it with you, it was the most gracious of him, and such a big present, and such a little nod of encouragement at a time when we really, really needed it. I'll never forget it. He was such a lovely man, just a ball of grace on legs. I miss him. Yeah, he was great.
That's awesome. We talked a little bit about some of your early influences or artists that you really liked early on, like Joni Mitchell. We talked about collaborating with John Prine. Is there somebody that you haven't had a chance to yet collaborate with that you'd love the opportunity to share a song with?
Loads of people. I really, really was hoping someday to sing with a woman called Minnie Parker. She's from Duluth, and she was in a band called Low. But unfortunately, she passed away last year very suddenly out of the blue. I love Big Thief, that band, and that girl Adriana. I think she's a very, very special voice. But I hope just to keep singing, keep meeting people, keep wanting to play.
Cool. How do you discover music these days? There's so much out there streaming. I still go to the record shop, try to buy some vinyls, but it's tough. There's a lot out there, and I know we talked a bit about it briefly. Are you still finding new music like Big Thief and things like that? Where do you typically find new music?
I have got children with really good taste.
Nice.
And they turn me on to things all the time, because I don't really find I'm not a natural Spotify user. It's generational, of course, but I don't enjoy going into Spotify and looking for music. Then you've got to find a song, and then it sends you to other songs. I like the experience of getting an album when someone releases it and listening to the whole thing, and also I feel it's so. Here's an example of streaming now. Sorry, I know I'm talking too much now. I had a really strong coffee just before it came. We released a song called Sing, and it got over, I think it's 1.5 million now. It got over 1 million streams in a certain amount of time anyway. But if that had been like 10 years before, and we'd released an album and sold that many singles, or even that many downloads in Apple, whatever. Because it was streaming, I think we got something like maybe $400 or something for over 1 million streams. But it took us a long time to write that song and to record it and to make it. So just, it's confusing to me how difficult it's become for musicians to survive. But live music will always be there, and if you can tour, then you'll keep doing that. I mean, we're traveling gypsies at the best of times.
Yeah, for sure. Just flipping the question to you, Duncan, in terms of somebody that you wished to perform with, either or living or past, is there a particular actor that you would be like, wow, that'd be great to share a scene, a play, a television show, a film with them?
I'm kind of awful at getting starstruck and intimidated, so theoretically yes, but then probably in practice I just go, oh my god, well, no, this was a terrible mistake. Is this like alive anytime?
Yeah, anytime, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, obviously just to work with Marlon Brando. But you would end up just like having lines written all over you, as opposed to just be reading your script off your face. But no, not really. I never think of approach it that way, really.
Sure.
I just enjoy watching people, and if you get the opportunity to work with great people, yes, so be it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a film that you did that I came across that's, I believe, hitting the film festival circuit right now, called Year 10. You play a leading role in it. Can you tell me a little bit about that film and the experience of doing it?
Yeah, I mean, this is weird. I was asked to do something right at the beginning of COVID. My Irish agent sent me a note from this director, and it's kind of a post-apocalyptic story with a father and a son, and they're living off the land, hunting with like makeshift bows and arrows, and then they're finally like tracked down by this roving band of cannibals, and whatever happens subsequently after that. But like what directors tend to do these days to try and get projects going is they make a sizzle reel. So they do a very short 5-minute film showing you what kind of work they intend the film to be. And I saw it, and it was very kinetic the way this guy was shooting. And the other thing that attracted me about the film is absolutely no dialogue in it at all. It's all kind of just the camera following these people around. So I thought this looks really interesting. And of course it was during COVID, it was incredibly low budget, so there was like a crew of about 30 people with the actors. Less than that probably. And it was in kind of midwinter in the forest. And yeah, it was good. It was just like I was like covered in mud most of the time, suffering from hypothermia. Like the mud was getting into places that it shouldn't have got to, and it kind of lowers your core temperature down. And it's like, oh my god. And just another take. But yeah, I haven't seen it, and I almost forgot I did it. Because it's like 4 years ago now since I did it. I have no idea what happened to that. It was like a disaster. But yeah, it's being premiered at a film festival in London next couple of weeks, so I'll go along, and then hopefully it'll be good. If it's not, we just delete this conversation.
Hopefully it ends up on a streamer or a release, folks can check it out. Maria, in a previous panel, you discussed briefly making films. And you've got a production company, and you've produced, you've directed. That's always an interesting thing too, I imagine, kind of taking a step back from being in front of the camera, behind it, having that kind of macro view, making decisions.
Yeah.
Is that something that you enjoy and that you want to do more of?
I absolutely loved it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I made the first short film for a particular reason. My son, who has Down syndrome, one of my children, and I wanted to make a film sort of from his point of view, and just kind of challenge a few preconceptions about him and his friends. Like in a very simple way, people would say, Daniel is Down syndrome, and I would say, no, Daniel has Down syndrome. But it's, it's just one bit of this gigantic personality that is him. So I made that for that reason, and it was such a good experience, though, to do everything about the film, to be able to talk to the actors and figure out what they would like to do or how they would like to do it, to direct the DOP, to say what way I wanted it to look, to light it, to have decide about the costumes, to write the music. And Kieran wrote the music for me for it, and I really loved the experience so much. I made another one called Color Code, and if anyone wants to see the short films, actually they're on my website. You can see them. They're short and they're great. And I went to Screen Ireland and asked for money to make a feature film.
Nice.
And so I've got the last bit of that now. We're nearly there, and we're going to try and do that next year. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm dying to jump sides of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Feature length, I know you're a songwriter. Are you writing the screenplay for the film as well, or are you collaborating with
The
others?
screenplay is adapted from, I went to see a play written by a young Dublin man called Thomas Kane Byrne in a tiny little theatre. There's only 50 people there, and I laughed so hard I almost had an accident. And I just went to see him afterwards and said, I'm looking for something to make a film from, would you be interested? So we've been adapting it together. Screen Ireland got behind it, have a producer now, we've written some songs.
Nice.
It's going to be kind of Mean Girls from the flats from Dublin.
Sure. Looking forward to that. I wanted to talk a little bit about this with both of you. The difference, if there is any, between historical contemporary settings when you're approaching characters and you're acting in films and television or on stage. Is one more challenging than the other? Do you even consider that at all when approaching a role? Is there a difference between a contemporary and a more historic setting? Marie, I know you've done a lot of great historic pieces, Tudors, Downton Abbey, and contemporary work as well. Is it different?
Well, I think mostly, obviously, like something like the Tudors or Downton Abbey or Outlander, the set and the costumes are such a huge part of it, and they're going to influence how you move and how restricted your body is, and all the different, the extra layers of class systems that will be in place, that you will be in a position of power, that there will be servants, also all of those things are different. But I don't think that's much different, like even in a modern setting, you're going to think about how you move and what you wear and how you relate to other people. So it's different, but not necessarily more or less challenging for me.
Duncan?
Whatever it is, I don't think I've done, well, certainly in film, I've never done contemporary thing. I'm just like, please.
Never.
No, and I've never used my own accent. So it's kind of, I'm always like dressed up in weird historical costumes and speaking in RP or in a different accent. So one day, hopefully, I'll just be unaware. I did, a few contemporary plays, but yeah, as Maria says, though, I think the key, way you approach a role doesn't change that much.
Yeah. It's been, over the last couple of days, hearing you folks talk about your careers, it's been really interesting. And I wonder, having had these great careers, is there any piece of advice that you wish you had received early on that would have been like, wow, that would have helped a lot? Duncan, I know.
Learn maths, go to business school.
Lost his microphone, but it's okay, it's coming back. There we go.
No, not really. I'm always very wary of advice because, firstly, from other people, it's usually with good intent, but they're always thinking from their perspective. Also, it's very dubious. All kind of advice is quite dubious, and I found, even the periods where you think, oh my God, everything's gone to hell, there's no way out of this, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, has kind of shaped and led to the moments that there is light. So, life takes its own course and let it do it.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I think advice is mostly overrated, and the particular choices and challenges that somebody took to get somewhere are going to be so different than the road that you're on, that them telling you something is possibly patronizing and of no use. I mean, the only good thing is, don't be a dick. I kind of knew that.
And Maria, for you, I was interested, you've been involved in a lot of great groundbreaking shows, classic television programs, including ones that you're currently in. Have you seen an evolution of the medium being in television shows? It's changed a lot, kind of since this golden era of TV in the early 2000s, and productions seem to be getting bigger and higher quality, and the budget seemed to be getting bigger. Have you seen a kind of an evolution in the space?
I mean, I think for me personally, like don't tell anybody, even though I know some here now filming it, but I'm gonna be 60 this year. So I'm really lucky that when I turned 40, because for a lot of people who are even 10 years older than me, when they got to be 40, it became really difficult for them to work. And when I got to be 40, suddenly there was a load of shows just kicking ass. You know, obviously everyone talks about The Sopranos and Edie Falco and her character in that. But then there were a ton of things. There was Desperate Housewives, there was just a load of shows, and suddenly there was work for women. And then everyone was like, well, of course, and there are these really interesting characters. So I was very lucky at my personal just life timing. But I have noticed again now, and it moved more and more into interesting and diverse casting and different types and different shapes of people. But again now I'm kind of seeing this thing where the girls particularly are just getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and I worry about that. And I don't want the diversity to go away, of different ages and types and sizes and all of that, because it's hard to be what you can't see. So it is good for people to see themselves represented, and it's good for us all to accept that there's lots of different kinds of us, and we're all, you know, we're all a bit of crack.
Well said. Kind of just wrapping up this part here. You folks do a very interesting job. You put on different costumes and you play different characters, and you get to inhabit different types of people that you're not, which is really fun. But if you could step into another profession for a day, what would it be?
Well, I'd love to have the discipline to write, you know, just write novels and be tucked away somewhere, not have to see anyone. You know, yeah, that would be like, you know, maybe I try and evolve into that kind of thing. But yeah, being a writer for me.
Writer, interesting. And I know we've talked about kind of stepping behind the camera and directing a little bit, but is there anything else, another profession?
My mother always thought I'd be a good teacher, but I think that's just because I'm an eldest child and I'm so naturally bossy. But I think I would love to have the time and the skill to spend all my time in a garden. I think growing things would just make you feel good. I think I could do that for a lot of time in the week. Yeah.
Great. We have some rapid fire questions here just to end off the panel. Here we go. Ready? Okay. Favorite actor and actress?
Marlon Brando, I guess. I'm a huge fan of Michelle Pfeiffer, actually. I think she's like, some of the work she's done is absolutely stunning. I think she's very underrated.
Annette Bening, I think she has not put a foot wrong. She's just extraordinary and only getting better and better and better. And kind of like everything that Joaquin does. Joaquin Phoenix, I think he's pretty extraordinary.
Cool. What was the last TV show you binge watched?
Cobra Kai. No retreat, no mercy.
Still weeping ever since Succession stopped. Oh, watch Bodkin, which is kind of a sleuthy thing. It was set in Ireland, and some of my friends were in it, so I watched that Bodkin.
Nice. When you're not braving the cold weather and the wind and the rain of southern Ontario, what's your favorite holiday destination?
Italy, anyway. In Italy, I love Rome. It blows me away every time I go.
We spend a lot of time in Andalusia, around Cadiz. It's my husband's spiritual home. He really wants to live there forever.
Favorite cuisine?
Italian.
Anything in particular?
Oh God, the last time I went to Rome, I came back, I was, oh my God, I couldn't fit into any of my clothes. Just they're all rustic dishes, you know, not necessarily the famous pasta dishes, but if you go to a really old school Italian restaurant in Rome, it's just, yeah.
I like sushi, it's my favorite, I think. I love good sushi.
Awesome. Are we morning people or night owls? You both are very pleasant in the morning, but do you prefer one or the other?
Don't be fooled.
I wake up screaming at 4 a.m. and don't stop until 6. But, yeah, I become a morning person. The older I got, for some reason, I kind of like I really like waking up at 5 now, and you get so much done before the rest of the world even kind of wakes up. So yeah.
Nice. One thing, item, or yeah, just thing in general that you can't live without. Just one thing. That's why I said item, like something that makes your life easier.
Toothbrush.
It's important. Oral hygiene, yeah.
I'm one of those people that I'm really addicted to stationery. Like if I go by like a paper chase shop or whatever, I just, kind of salivate and think about the pen. So I think a pen. I couldn't live without a pen.
Yeah, good
You could write on a bit of a tree or anything. You wouldn't necessarily need the paper, but if you had a pen, you'd be okay.
Sure.
You could just touch a brush to the end of the pen and I could have both.
Fair enough. And then the last one here, we
I
talked
think
about.
we've just invented something. Let's patent it.
Yeah.
Pen toothbrush.
And toothbrush.
Toothpen.
A utility tool. Favorite movie that you've watched this year to end it off?
Oh my God, what's it called? The one with Emma Stone.
The favorite?
Yeah, no.
No, the new one.
Oh, I can't remember either, but I also watched it.
Pretty Things. Is it?
No, it's not. Poor Things. Poor Things. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, crazy
Yeah, I love
film.
that.
Cool. Maria. It's tough. That's okay.
Yeah. What else
That's
was,
okay.
name a few that you watched and I'll see if I watched.
You got anything? It is a tough question because then it's like you've seen things, but then you're like, wait a second, what have I seen this year?
Yeah.
It all kind of blends together. I guess outside of it, any like outstanding performances?
You talking cinema?
Sure. Well, it could be anything though if we're drawing a blank.
I might change mine to the new Deadpool one.
Yeah.
I saw that in the IMAX and then you went deaf. I don't know what is happening with the sound levels in IMAX cinemas. It's just like, oh my God. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
It was good, eh?
Yeah.
Really? Cool.
I rewatched a Fellini movie and The Ship Sails On, having watched Poor Things, because the design of Poor Things was so beautiful and this incredible setup of the ship and everything. So I watched that again recently after that and it was amazing. And the other thing that I've been watching, I can't remember his flippin' name, the guy who made The Square and Triangle of Sadness, those films.
Oh yes.
Oh, they are just brilliant.
Triangle of Sadness is amazing.
It is brilliant. A brilliant dissection of class and people and their awfulness and then occasionally their goodness, and it's fantastic fun.
The seasickness sequence in that.
Oh my God! Triangle of Sadness. Highly recommend.
It's a good one. You'll get a laugh in there as well. All right, folks, let's give a big round of applause to our two guys for coming out today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.